All right, today's topic is going to be dimensional analysis. Couple fancy big words there, nothing to be too concerned about. I want to walk you through essentially just the setup and how you go about dimensional analysis first, and then we'll kind of jump into some examples. So first off, let me draw a line here. This is kind of what the setup is going to look like. You're essentially filling in a chart. And so it's going to tell you, it's going to tell you a starting unit. So what you're going to do is your starting amount will always go in this spot right here, your starting amount. Okay, and you'll see what I'm talking about soon. You have your starting amount. Sometimes it'll be just on top, sometimes it'll be top and bottom, but we'll look at that. The next box, and it could be the next box, it could just be one of these boxes, it could be two boxes, is an equal amount. So essentially what equals the starting amount. And again, we will see exactly what that means here in a couple of examples that I did on a note sheet. So if you need that note sheet, again, feel free to ask one of your teachers or go see Coach Bergdorf. He has them as well, and we can get you that. And then the last thing you're going to have is your end amount. Your end amount. And what's going to happen here essentially are things are going to be crossing out. So let's say I have feet on top right here. Well, if I have feet on top, in order to cross out feet, I've got to put feet on the bottom, and then they'll cross out. So it's kind of like a game you're playing. If you whatever you start out with, you don't want, because you want to change it to whatever you're looking for. So that's why I want to look at an example. I think that you'll better understand kind of what I'm talking about when you see some examples of what we're doing. So here we go. Let's take a look at an example here. Let's look at this example. Let's turn 24 inches. 24 inches is how many feet? Now, some of us probably already know that right off the top of our head, but let's use dimensional analysis to help us solve this question. So we're going to draw our little line here. We've got that, and let's go ahead and start putting in our information. So what are we given to start out with? What's our starting amount? And that would be the 24 inches. That's what we're given. Okay, notice 24 inches. Whatever you're given goes in that first box. Now, if I have inches on top, guess what has to go on the bottom here? And that would be right, it would be inches. Inches has to go on the bottom. Inches has to go on the bottom. Well, if inches on the bottom, what are we trying to get? What is the goal? We're trying to go from inches to feet. Inches to feet. Now, on the quiz on Friday, or whenever you take a quiz or a test, we're going to give you those conversions. So you're already going to know that 12 inches equals 1 foot. 12 inches equals 1 foot. Again, those conversions will be given to you on the quiz. You don't need to memorize that, even though those are good things to memorize just in life. But we are going to give you those on the quiz, so you don't have to memorize any of these actual conversions, feet to inches to feet, or feet to miles. We're going to give you all of those. We're going to give you all of those. All right, so what happens to the inches is that they cross out. The inches cross out because we have one on top, one on bottom. When that happens, you can cross those things out, and guess what you're left with? You're left with foot or feet. And that's exactly what we needed. Notice we needed to be left with feet or foot. A foot is just the singular, feet is plural. So we're left with a foot, we're left with feet here. So now what you do is you multiply everything on top, all the numbers you have on top. So 24 times 1 is 24. 12 times nothing is just going to be 12. So then you divide. What is 24 divided by 12? And that answer would be 2. And then what is our unit? What are we left with? And again, we're left with foot or feet. So the answer here would be 2 feet. Excuse me. So the answer is 2 feet. 2 feet. We went from 24 inches to feet. So 24 inches is the same thing as 2 feet. Let's take a look at another example. This time, we're going to look at, this example is going to go 50,000 feet. So we're going to go from feet is how many miles? We're going to go from feet to miles. From feet to miles. So when we go from feet to miles, I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this a little bit better. So from feet to miles, what we're going to start out, draw a line here. What are we starting with? What do we start with? We start with what they give us, 50,000 feet. That's the shorthand of feet, FT. You're given 50,000 feet, 50,000 feet. Well, if feet is on top, what has to be on bottom? Feet. Good, good, good. So feet has to be on bottom because we're trying to cancel that out. We don't want feet anymore. Well, do we know how many feet convert to miles? How many feet are in a mile? 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Again, you're not expected to know that. We're going to give you that conversion on the quiz. All right, you will get that conversion on the quiz. You just need to know that if there's feet up top, well then on the bottom here needs to be feet as well. And I'm going from feet to miles. So I got to put miles on the top. So what crosses out? Well, the feet, gone, and I'm left with miles. It's exactly what I wanted. It's exactly what I wanted. So now we just multiply straight across. So you got 50,000 times 1 is 50,000. 5,280 times nothing down there, so 5,280. And what is that going to equal? I'm going to write the answer on the bottom here because I ran out of space. That will equal, if you divide those, just use your calculator, 50,000 divided by 5,280, you get roughly 9.5. And what's our unit? Well, it's miles. That's what we were looking for. So we're going to put 9.5 miles. That would be our final answer. All right, that is, again, those are the basics of dimensional analysis, and I'll be sure to label the video that way. So this is, again, just kind of the starting point for dimensional analysis. They can go a little bit further and a little bit deeper, but this is a great video to start on, and I'm glad you watched this. Again, ask your teachers for any kind of help that you need. If you need my help, come find me. Again, this is Coach Damaris. And I'm glad here to help you. I'm glad to help you. Just you got to make sure you're asking questions. You got to self-advocate for yourself. If you don't understand something, you need to advocate for yourself. So be sure to do that. And be on the lookout for the next video.